You were competent enough to get hired, competent enough to keep the job. So why does the promotion keep going to the guy who's mediocre but always in the right room? Why does your idea get silence, then applause when someone else repeats it? If you feel like you're always outside a door that never fully opens, that's not a confidence problem. That's not a skills gap. Here's what nobody in your company will ever say out loud. The kid at the popular table grew up, got a title, and built your workplace in their image. Office cliques aren't a personality quirk buried in the employee handbook. They control access, information, visibility, and forgiveness. That last one is why mediocre people keep rising. They can stall your career without leaving a single clean paper trail. In a lot of companies, that's the real operating system, not the one on the org chart, the one underneath it. It usually starts the same way. You show up and the decisions have already been made. The inner circle is laughing at something that ends the moment you enter. Nobody makes room. You sit on the outside while decisions move through a private channel you don't have. That's not paranoia. That's the same popularity contest from 9th grade, upgraded with job titles and a salary band. The cafeteria table never disappeared. It got a conference room and a Slack channel you're not in. Here's the trick. Cliques don't need to attack you. They just need to not include you. An office clique is a closed social unit that controls access. That's the whole definition. Everything else is decoration. The engine is similarity bias, meaning they trust the person who feels familiar, not necessarily the person who performs. Inside a corporation, that bias determines who gets pulled into the pre-meeting meeting where actual decisions happen before the official meeting performs them for everyone else. It determines whose message gets a reply versus a read receipt, whose name gets attached to the stretch assignment before it's ever posted. Remote work didn't fix any of this. It just moved the exclusion into private group chats and DMs you're not in. And corporate structure doesn't just allow it. Vague promotion criteria, weak HR, and a cultural obsession with culture fit, which is similarity bias in recruiter clothing, actively reward it. Now watch how the clique ecosystem actually operates, because the species inside it don't all run the same play. Executive pets control opportunity. Their proximity to leadership isn't earned through performance, it's inherited through shared golf courses, matching alma maters, or the simple fact that the SVP knew their family. They get the stretch assignments before those assignments are ever posted. Result, you're competing for whatever's left. The work hard, play hard crew controls social access. Their calendar is a professional filter. If you're a parent who can't do Thursday bar nights, or an introvert who finds mandatory fun feels like punishment, you get quietly filed as not a team player, corporate language for not worth investing in. Legacy loyalists control information, and they do it deliberately. The tenured employees who treat institutional knowledge like personal property, who won't train you completely, who speak across you in meetings, and who shake their heads about culture fit when you stumble in the information vacuum they built. Each layer locks you out a little further. And then the most sophisticated configuration, the diversity tokens, who control optics. Sometimes DEI is real. Sometimes it's window dressing, and cliques thrive in the window dressing version, where employees of color, women, and LGBTQ colleagues appear on recruiting materials while the rooms where actual decisions happen stay unchanged. The branding neutralizes criticism. The clique underneath it operates completely undisturbed. Here's why you over-prepare for meetings now. Here's why you reread emails 3 times before sending them to people who once made you feel dismissed. Brain imaging studies show social rejection activates the same pain centers as physical injury. That means being frozen out isn't just uncomfortable, it creates a hypervigilant background anxiety that follows you into every interaction, stealing your focus before you've opened your laptop. Meanwhile, the people doing the freezing are having a completely different experience. In-group favoritism creates a warm distortion that makes clique members' behavior feel not just normal, but righteous. They don't think they're running an exclusion operation. They think they're just close. That blind spot is why confronting them is so disorienting. You're presenting evidence to people who experience the same events as proof of friendship. Bystanders, the coworkers who witness the credit theft and the passive-aggressive dismissal and say nothing, aren't simply cowards. When everyone sees something and nobody moves, each person absorbs the crowd's silence as permission. That silence becomes the social consensus, and the clique weaponizes it through gossip calibrated precisely enough to make you question your own read on reality. The feedback delivered through a third party, the way your contribution gets absorbed into someone else's presentation so cleanly you start to wonder if you imagine making it. Same psychological playbook as high school, higher stakes than anything high school ever threatened. The personal cost doesn't show up anywhere reviewable, which is exactly how it survives. Workplace ostracism is linked with chronic stress, poor sleep, and burnout that looks from the outside like underperformance, but is really the mental cost of always being socially on guard at work. The standard response, working harder, producing more, betting that exceptional output will eventually override the social architecture, is the trap. It almost never works because the architecture is the architecture. Promotions happen in the informal spaces the clique controls. Exceptional performance from an outsider doesn't read as qualifying, it reads as threatening. At the team level, cliques hoard information because shared information is diluted power. They generate the specific quiet resentment that shows up not as confrontation, but as missed deadlines and the kind of exhausted contempt that makes every cross-team meeting feel like negotiating without a treaty. Organizations bleed turnover that nobody accurately diagnoses because the people who could explain why they left decide it's not worth the reference letter risk. Innovation narrows because the perspectives that got systematically excluded were the ones that didn't already sound like the room. The reason this persists at scale comes down to something American work culture won't audit about itself. The US workplace is built for competition. Stack rankings, promotion tournaments, performance curves that explicitly require some people to lose so others can win. Those structures turn colleagues into rivals and make clique alliances survival strategy rather than genuine connection. HR exists in most organizations not to protect employees, but to manage the company's liability, and clique dynamics almost never produce the singular documented incident that triggers a formal response. What they produce is pattern, cumulative exclusions, the slow erosion of someone's professional confidence, a 1,000-cut experience that's nearly impossible to prove and very easy to explain away, one incident at a time. The people positioned to stop it are frequently the people the structure benefits. The high school cafeteria didn't mature into something more equitable when everyone got older. It got a budget, a title system, and enough corporate language around it to make the exclusion sound like meritocracy. So here's where that leaves you. You now understand the actual mechanism, not a vague feeling that something's off. The specific system, who controls what, how it forms, what it costs you, and why the company lets it run. That knowledge changes how you move. You stop overinvesting in output as your only lever. You stop assuming the best prepared person wins the room. You start paying attention to the pre-meeting meeting, to who gets information early and why, to where the real decisions are actually being made. You can't dismantle the system from outside it, but you can stop being surprised by it. And you can stop blaming yourself for outcomes that were decided before you ever walked in. The next video covers exactly what that looks like in practice, the specific moves that shift your position inside a clique-run environment without turning you into one of them. That's the part nobody talks about. We will.